Hey Doug, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really well, Mo. Good to talk with you.
Nice to see you, and we finally made it happen.
Right.
Thank you for your time.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to Smart Training 365. Um, Doug, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Yeah, so my name is Doug Burkes, and I live in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I've been training with weight since I was 12 years old when my father bought me my first Joe Weider Big 16 weight set. With all the, the strap-on weight boots that wouldn't stay on, and the old metal collars, that you would have to tighten on and hope they didn't come off. The plates didn't come off the dumbbells.
Right.
So I've been doing that for a long time, and I've also worked in technology and still do during my main job. Work as a database analyst currently for the city of Fort Collins, where I live, and but also have loved the health sciences. So um, I currently still do neuromuscular therapy at a medical clinic here. I've been doing that for about 12 years, and also personal training. So I did some work at 24 Hour Fitness for about 4.5 years, and now I work out of a independent gym.
Beautiful. That's very rich, a little bit of everything, not a little bit, like that's in depth, actually. So neuromuscular therapy. So what is that?
So that's a form of therapy that we do there. And what it essentially does is we try to get the quickest change in muscle tissue as we can. And I don't know if you've heard of neuromuscular stretching. That's a form of stretching where you're stretching the tissue, then you're putting resistance against it, and then you're stretching again. So working with the brain, the spinal cord, and the neuromuscular system to get better change. So we work on people that have been in car accidents and sports injuries, because muscles can stay stuck in bad positions for months and years. I've worked on this one individual that he had shoulder surgery 7 years previous, and he still had a knot in the muscle back in the rhomboid area. And I was able to take it out with neuromuscular therapy. We're putting pressure, shortening the muscle so that the spindle cells are reporting in the brain, hey, we're not being overstretched. We don't have to tighten up and actually get a release. The guy was so happy. I can't always do that. It depends, on the person and what the issue is. But just the fact that you have to re-educate muscles, because some of them, they get too shortened and overly contracted, and they think this is where I need to stay. And of course it alters the biomechanics of the person or causes pain. So yeah, just a very useful technique. I use it on myself as well, because as you're training, you get little tweaks here and there, and
Right.
it's helpful to be able to take those out. And we also use the concept of reciprocal inhibition, or reciprocal innervation, I think you call
Yes,
it. So,
both. Yeah.
right. So if you're, I don't know if you've ever injured your lower back, and then you bend over, you'll feel like a shock, and that's
Yeah.
those. Yeah. So that's the spindle cells telling the muscles to splint. So they want to keep you from hurting yourself anymore, but they can get stuck like that way over where they should. So some of the reciprocal inhibition is while we're putting pressure on the lower back muscles, we have the person contract their abdominal muscles, right? The agonist antagonist pair, so that you send that signal to the lower back muscles to, hey, shut down. And so, yeah, so just a lot of those various techniques that are used to help get a good change, help re-educate those muscles, and get them into a healthier position.
That's fantastic. Is this part of chiropractic,
It
practice?
isn't. Yeah, it isn't. It's part of kind of a medical neuromuscular massage therapy. So actually working the tissue. So I went to school for that, and then I got additional medical training at the clinic that I work at.
And so you only work with people who got accidents, or people who get injured also from exercise and resistance training?
Right. Yeah. So all of that, and just living here in Colorado, right, in the wintertime, I see an uptick in people that slip on snow and ice. And, people can actually get whiplash just from not even completely falling, but just the way the body jerks when you're almost going to
Right.
fall and you
Mm-hmm.
try to stop yourself.
Yeah.
People actually strain tendons and ligaments. And so definitely there's, quite a bit of that as well.
So when did neuromuscular therapy see the light? Like, when did this start?
That's a good question. I'm not sure when that came on the scene as far as that, but we found it, gosh, it's probably 20 plus years. And with any of these type of therapies, everybody's got their kind of their own label. They'll take some of the same techniques that have been around for a long time and kind of repackage them. A body insight is, one of them, of course, in the neuromuscular therapy.
Right.
So to answer your question, I'm not sure how long, but it's a lot of those techniques have been around for many, many years. Just general massage therapy has been around for 5,000 years.
Right.
It's the oldest, healing modality. But then you get these other more sophisticated techniques that get, used within that, the scope of that treatment.
Right. I'm curious to know, like, what people mostly come to you, especially if they work out, and what caused those injuries.
Right. So the number one are shoulder injuries. Right? And so, and I'm certified with a corrective exercise specialization with the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So we have their elements there. However, since I've learned, some additional information, I'm now asking, the clients, what kind of exercises are you doing? The heavy overhead presses? Are you doing things that are going to impinge, the supraspinatus? So shoulders, backs, those are the two number one. And
lower back,
lower back. People doing exercises that are, not correct. They're overloading certain muscles and not targeting the ones that they truly want to target.
Knees
are, there are. I would say that's going to be in that top three as well. Knees, back, shoulders, and then of course with other, necks are usually involved as well. People tend to tighten up the neck muscles when they get injured.
I also know that you are certified with our trainer certification program. So your biomechanics. Right. So did that knowledge, when you first of all, why did you choose to enroll in that program?
So, it was interesting is I thought there was nothing really new, right, in the world of resistance weight training. And I listened to various people, online, and I think I heard Dr. Jerry Brainham. He mentioned that, and this was a good while back before, the book was published. He mentioned that this is the smartest stuff you'll ever come across with training. And that really caught my eye. And I thought, that sounds interesting. So I wrote the name of the book down. I keep a list of books that I want to read because I couldn't actually find it online, way back then. And then I was watching a show, Rick Drayson and Doug, right. And he started talking about the book, and I said, oh, hey, this is the guy that, has that book. And then just listening to what he was saying, like, hey, this really makes sense, and some of the stuff is counter to what I've learned all my life, training gyms and right. And so then I eventually bought the book and then did the whole training course. And when I heard some of the things, like, for example, the incline press doesn't truly hit the upper back. So I immediately went down into my basement and I got on my incline bench and I did my form of, electromyography, right? Where I started like moving at an angle and feeling, whoa, is my chest activating? Or wait a minute, I feel my anterior deltoid is taking most of the load. And so it started confirming all these things that I've been experiencing, because just before this program, I was following a book by Mike Matthews. And again, it's another one of those compound exercises. And you have to prioritize the upper chest. So that means heavy incline bench press. So I started doing that. And I was getting up there pretty heavy. But then I started noticing my front deltoid is starting to hurt. and the same thing, he had you doing heavy military press, which felt pretty awful for me anyway. Just biomechanically didn't feel good. So I even kind of quit doing those. And the other thing was squats, right? And so again, you had to get back into heavy squats, which I hadn't done for years. So I thought, okay, let me, try to do this and be able to get my shoulders back enough.
Right.
And, but one thing I always noticed when I did squats was I feel like my left hip was starting to go out, like feel weak. Right. And even with all my neuromuscular studying of anatomy and all that, I didn't even make that connection between, if you're activating the glute muscle, your brain is shutting off the hip flexor, right? The rectus femoris.
Right.
And so it's like, wait a minute, all this stuff is really making sense. I mean, I can't believe, I hit a gold mine of knowledge here with all this thing that was confirming things I was experiencing, but not even really being aware of why I was experiencing it. And
it was like a revelation.
Absolute revelation. And I was just, like I said, I was surprised. Like I thought, I hear about all these different programs and, nobody's coming up with anything really new, but this is. And so now I'm feeling better. My shoulders are, feeling really good again. And so I'm experiencing better development and without all the, the pain.
Wear and tear. Yeah.
Right. So now that gives me, hope that I can continue training out there until I'm 90 or wherever,
Yeah. That's what this program is about. So, Doug, the knowledge that you found in the course, is it something that helps you in your daily practice?
It does. You know what? On a whole number of levels. So one thing, even when I'm working around the house, besides my training, I'm a lot more aware of my mechanics, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm holding a heavy ladder, I'm going to have it tucked closer to my body, right? Just because of the magnification.
Right.
When I'm doing my neuromuscular practice, now I'm evaluating, I'm asking people, hey, what are you doing? And matter of fact, I had this one gentleman who's a painter, an older guy, but he's suffering from all types of pain and injuries. And so we're starting to he's starting to demonstrate, well, let me show me how you're moving when you're doing things. And he's putting himself at some really bad mechanical disadvantages. And so, I mean, that by itself right there and helping to educate other people that maybe aren't necessarily doing weight training, but just how you're maneuvering your body to prevent yourself from injuring yourself. Because, in some cases, these injuries can take people out of their career, their livelihood.
Right.
So definitely that. And then, is instructing those people too, because I have to admit, I've taught people some not very good things, right?
As we all did.
Trainer, right? So I'm having to go back and, hey, you know what? I taught you something that wasn't so good. Let's go through and let's together, let's visit all this and re-educate you with, what is smarter. So, the worst thing you can do is to hold on because you're embarrassed. You don't want to admit that maybe you weren't doing the right thing.
Well, we all learn different things, but at least we are able to move on and accept that what we learned before was wrong. And, that's the best way to improve. Do you get surprised, like when, let's say, someone get certified from different association, well-known association, or like from medicine, that they don't know about this knowledge in this course?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of my, I guess, favorite things to do is just even watch either online videos, because you're looking at it from a different perspective now. And trainers and gyms, and you're still seeing a lot of really, dangerous exercises being done, or things that are just going to wear people's joints out. The other big thing, and I did this myself, right? So we're going to train triceps a day. All right, so let's pick 4 different tricep exercises, right? Thinking that each exercise is going to add something different, right, to the development.
Right.
So that same thing, and you see some of these websites where somebody's come out with some secret method for building more mass in the triceps. just putting your hands on some barbell plates and pressing up, and said, "Oh, this will hit your triceps like nothing else will."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a fascinating study. And I know I've seen some of the videos where you're analyzing what people these little tricks, right? That
yeah,
people are
yeah, yeah.
saying. And I find that very fascinating to be able to evaluate all people with their different backgrounds and certifications and what they're bringing, what they think they're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
That's really special that it really isn't.
Yeah, we noticed that some people they are not trying to mislead people intentionally, but those are the exercises that we
Right.
learned, and
Yeah.
sometimes we want to add a little tweak because it feels a certain way to that person, so he wants to share it with the people.
Right. You want to differentiate yourself, right? In the midst of all these thousands of different techniques, you want
Yes.
to have some special knowledge there that's going to somehow make things better.
Right, right. Doug, the knowledge that you found in the Physics of Fitness online course, do you see it helping people like chiropractors, people who work in the therapy, neuromuscular also therapy?
I see that absolutely. That there's a big opportunity there, because at the clinic that I work at, there is a physical therapist there. Actually, he moved, but before he moved, I wanted to actually meet with him at the gym and go through some of this and see how different is this from what they do with their patients that are injured. And are they having them do certain exercises that maybe they shouldn't be doing? Anyway, that was, I think that's a big area to tap with this knowledge for sure.
Do you think there is a lack of this knowledge in the field?
I do, because I hear some patients that come to my clinic. I hear some of the exercises that their physical therapists are having them do. I wouldn't be having them do that.
They kind of cause the injury.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a big area there.
Yeah. We are doing our best to, educate and share videos on YouTube. But people need to be flexible because it's hard to admit or listen to someone's opinion. Well, not opinion, because most of the things we say is backed by science.
Right.
To accept it, you have to be open-minded. That's what I wanted to say.
Absolutely. Right. And be able to be willing to set aside things when you have scientific proof. That's why when I was listening to you and Doug talk about these different techniques, I thought, that absolutely makes sense. You can't refute that. I mean, it's, the laws of physics and biomechanics. And for people to get away from it's kind of a cult thinking where where you identify the style of training you do with who you are.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You've got to separate that out. And the people that are willing to do that are going to benefit from it. Those that are just going to huddle and hold on to that no matter what,
Yeah.
well, okay, you're just not going to be able to enjoy the benefits of this knowledge.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Doug. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Last thing, who do you recommend the Physics of Fitness to?
Mo, I would actually recommend this to anyone, because anybody who has to move, right, you have to pay attention to those principles of the physics. And matter of fact, we have at work, where I work for the city in the technology area there, we have a safety minute that we have to every staff meeting. So it was my turn. So I actually gave one on workout safety, and I included Doug's book in there.
Wow.
So to try to help introduce, hey, pay attention to these things, the mechanical disadvantage of, the amount of weight that you put your arm in, the
Right.
bicep in. So like I said, anybody can benefit from this. Anybody who moves, it can absolutely benefit from this.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Doug, for your time. Thank you for joining our family. You're part of our team, and we will keep in touch via our private Facebook group.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking with you as well, and enjoy the rest of your trip there in Tunisia.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Okay. Take care, Mo.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.